Doing a core conversations from a fun location. Didn't realize there's gonna be this much construction around here, so if you can still hear me, I hope it's good. And hey Olivia, what's going on? I almost messaged you to do a workout this morning. Hey, question, can you hear? And hey, I had the hurricane. What's going on? Olivia, what's going on? Mr. Question though. Okay, check this out, everybody. I am at Celebration Square. So this is basically City Hall in Mississauga. So behind me is the big screen stage. I've actually taught Pilates off of that stage to this field with hundreds of people. Done that in the past. Pretty cool. And I felt like going for a ride. So the way I work is I take Friday afternoons and just unplug and just do some Martin time. And today is what they call National Truth and Reconciliation Day. So I'm going to flip this over. So that's what it says on the screens right now. So they're doing all kinds of work and they're showing the resolutions that the nation of Canada has made with the First Nations, Indigenous groups. The Mississaugas are the first credit live in this area before us. So here at Celebration Square, nothing's happening on the stage on the big screen, but how's it going, Troy? So this is what the nation of Canada is doing, addressing First Nations people groups in this area. It is Truth and Reconciliation Day. They encourage people, this is the 8th year in a row where they tell people to wear an orange shirt. If you cannot get an orange shirt for your kids, people in the First Nations saying, put an orange heart on your hand. It's in your heart. It's not about an outward expression. It really is about an inward expression of truth and reconciliation, acknowledging the ancestors are on this space, right? So I'm just putting this out here for you today. I want you to kind of see, for those of you who live in the States, different parts of the world, this is what Canada's doing. This is what my city's doing. Some new buildings going up. That's the library. That building right there is City Hall. It has a really odd shape and structure because it pays homage to the families and the farming industry that was here first. So that's why it was called the barn. And it kind of lends to a larger conversation about the way that things are received. When they came up with the proposal for that building, a lot of people didn't like it. Looks like the barn. City Hall looks like a barn. I don't want a barn. And now people don't think about it anymore. I think that generation has kind of died off, the generation that was mad about that, because now it's just there. It's just a building. How many times in our life do we have things that we don't like and we push back against, and then after we're like, you know what? It wasn't really worth fighting for. It's all good. It's all good in the hood, people. Let's do a little show and tell here. Let me see if I have a picture of some of the stuff I've done here. While I'm looking for a picture, I'd love to hear from y'all. What is going on? If you guys have any online classes or workouts or workshops, that sort of thing, if you could just put it in the chat. It'd be cool to hear what's going on. I'm going to talk about workouts with my dad in a minute. Let's see if I can find this picture. Oh, it's so fuzzy. So yeah, so that's a picture. I don't know if it's gonna come through or not, but Troy, that is me doing. Yeah, no problem. There it is. Nothing like teaching Pilates to like 800 people, some of which have never done it before. Fun stuff. Just reading some of the points, some of the comments here. Let me just go back here. Move with AV. Points of origin. Okay, move with AV. November end of year challenge. What's that end of year challenge? Tell us more about it. How's it going, Debbie Robbins? So, Debbie, just for you who are just joining us, that's a picture of me teaching Pilates here at Celebration Square. So I'm out, and that's the AV. Okay, good, got it. AV, would you like to join me on screen? This is a Freestyle Friday where I have guests on. Actually, I don't have anything else to share. Do I have anything? No. Okay, cool. So if you want to join me on screen, you can. Okay, never mind. Where are you located? I guess you're on the West Coast where it's still. I guess you're on the West Coast where it's still early, right? Blossom. So yes, we are doing a Core Conversations live on location. Yes, I'm outside. For those who just joined us, here we are. Check out on the big screen here. We affirmed our relationship with Mississaugas with a credit First Nation by recognizing the indigenous origin of the city's name, Mississauga, Houston. So this is the thing, people. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but whenever people ask me where I'm from, even though I'm like 20 minutes away from Toronto, I never say Toronto, even though that's the landmark. I always say Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. I like to represent my area. I think that it's important to put Mississauga on the map because they are doing this work. They're doing the work for anti-Black racism as well. I was on the Mayor's Black Caucus, and we put forth recommendations that went to City Council to address these things. So I say all that because you think that all we do is movement. You think that all we do is fitness, but we are impacting our communities in such a massive way. The work that we do every day when people come into our space is something that inspires people, helps them to feel better in their body, but you improve the quality of life for your people. You improve the quality of life for your neighborhood, like immediate neighborhood. And that ups people's morale. You have conversations with them. You make them think about things in a different perspective. Like, how many times have we had conversations here on Core Conversations where we're talking about racism in the Pilates studio? We talk about representation, like full stop. So it's not necessarily racism. We could talk about the fact that there's so many groups that have been other that are not seen. The LGBT community, the trans community, people of different origins, First Nations or Latino groups or whatever it is. I hear so many different stories of different people that feel like they're just not represented. It's just one quote-unquote type of people that are on stages or on magazines, and then we broaden that conversation. We have different body types, people with disabilities, larger bodies, smaller bodies, whatever, that are doing the work. People see themselves in the work, they're inspired, and they take that out into the rest of their life. The way you do Pilates is the way you do life, we keep saying here. All these things come together full circle when we have these conversations. So I think that this is pretty cool. And this is why it's show and tell today on a Friday for Core Conversations. So I'm going to set this down here. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. You're more than welcome to join me on screen, even though we're outside. If you want to jump on, request to join, and join the conversation. Man, I feel like naked without my coffee mug. I should have thought about that. I have like nothing to like sip while I wait. AV, you should definitely visit. Mississauga is fun. And you're in Houston. So AV, fun fact about Houston. When the city of Mississauga is doing initiatives like communities changing diabetes, for example, we had Sean from Sugar Mode Off join us 2 days ago. She was talking about sugar, diabetes, and preventable disease. And I'll tell you. So we're talking about preventable diseases and diabetes and sugar and the impacts of sugar on the Black community and the South Asian community and stuff like that. Here in Mississauga, Mississauga is the only city that is signed on as a city to be a part of. Nothing's on. So sorry, let me go back to the topic. I saw the pointer. Okay, cool. All right, so sorry, I'm distracted reading the comments come through. So now, City of Mississauga, that you see here in the background. There's City Hall. There's my bike I rode up here. They signed on this commitment to address diabetes in Mississauga and preventable diseases and look at how stats skew it towards different people groups and stuff like that. The city that they looked at to model how to do it was Houston, because they said that Houston mirrors Mississauga in terms of its demographics, its size, infrastructure, things along those lines. So in some regards, Houston is like a sister city to Mississauga, because that's what they look at as a prototype of how to do certain things and how some of these things have been rolled out. How's that? So Debbie, I am at Celebration Square, sitting on a damp bench, but so that's why I figure for Truth and Reconciliation Day, I'd come up and just like let you guys see the beautiful background. It's so still right now, so quiet here. It's so cool. I'm gonna walk around a little bit. I need my stuff over here. So AV, when does your program start? Actually, AV, I think you should join me on screen. If you have a chance, come on live. That's this. Let me go out in the sun. It's kind of cold in the shade here. Look at this. So much better over here in the sun. Okay, AV's comment says, one of the things I love about Houston is the racial integration. We aren't perfect, but I'm more comfortable at home and see more integration of races than anywhere else in the States so far. Okay. That's yeah, that's the thing. I think that's not said enough. We talk about what these cities are doing and what we can do, and like there's not enough being said about the fact that we can impact that. In the way that we do bodies is the way that we do life, right? So what we're doing in our studios is a reflection of other things that can be done in our communities, right? One of the things I put on the chat here earlier is if you have anything going on, any workouts, workshops, that sort of thing, put it in the chat. I'd love to hear what's going on. I'm moving my... It's kind of cold in the shade. Hi, Diana. I saw Stefan did a live earlier, and he was talking about that second win. Moving over to the sun, people. Nice. All right, AV, let's do this. It worked. How are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm doing well.
Nice. Houston's in the house.
Yeah, we are. All right. Do you have an okay view of me? I can't really see myself because I still see this white screen of like the request to be in
Oh,
this
really?
video. Yeah. But as long as you can see me, I
Yeah,
don't.
absolutely. Yeah, you're right in center frame, so you're good.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for inviting me on.
My pleasure. This is fun. I love just like getting to know people and just like hearing their stories and all that fun stuff. So, um, yeah, thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm so engaged in the comments. Let me just go ahead and like,
I know, eh? That's the thing, right? It was like people just like chatting, like just join us, like just jump in, right? So,
yeah, that's so cool. When looking around the city, it's interesting because it's like the silo, right? I see like the farm silo, and I can see whenever you mention like how it's similar to Houston, Mississauga. I don't want to mispronounce it. Did I pronounce the city?
yeah, you did Mississauga. Yep.
Mississauga. So it's interesting because some of the like that silo, it looks like something that would be in Houston because we have a lot of buildings here where it's like the farm and like farming communities, they were the first
Yes.
settlers.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, I like just maybe it's just my personality, but I like things that pay homage to what came first.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. It's like it points to kind of like the origin of like, okay, well, this is kind of where how we develop. Uh,
Yes.
I think sometimes it's important to start with.
Sorry, you lost your audio there.
Let me see if are you
Oh,
able to hear
oh,
me now?
It's back. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. No, what I was saying, well, that it was interesting whenever you said like some people didn't like it,
Mm.
but it's
Yeah.
kind of grown. You know, not
Yes.
part of. It's always interesting how different generations, sort of things change. But
Right.
want to talk about my if I can, if I can take a second one slot.
Please. Yes. Absolutely.
Um, well, it'll start middle of November. Uh, I'm still either we're still working.
Oh, sorry. You're losing audio again there. It seems like it's just chopping up a little.
Let me see. I grab. Is that there's some background noise coming in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's like construction happening to my
See.
array. I'm just trying to like.
I'm gonna grab my earbuds and see
Okay.
if I can. I'll rejoin. Like I'll
Okay. So while AV's grabbing that, everybody, if you have any other online classes or workshops coming up, end of year push type theme. I know that through September, some people were doing a kind of get back in the swing of things, 21-day challenge, stuff like that. And those went really well. Um, yeah. So how's it sounding?
I think I hope that my audio is better now with my
Yeah, sounds good.
AirPod Pros. Okay. So this will be, it'll go from November through just like the first couple of weeks of December. Really, it's going to be geared on just maintaining like quality of life, endurance, balance, coordination challenges, having 3 sessions, 3 times a week for the 6 weeks, and then kind of taking a break in between and then hoping to start up the new year, just kind of
Nice.
building on that. Because I think that a lot of times we kind of do like beginners Pilates, but it's sort of kind of taking people through what makes you a beginner, and then what what are some of the things you can look at in your own body to see like, okay, do I have my endurance? Do I have the coordination? Am I leveling up? You know what I mean? And
Yes.
sort of giving them some tidbits and some tools to say, hey, when you notice this in your body, like that's a key, that's a sign, or that's an indication that, hey, you're getting stronger, you're making some
Yes.
progress, and helping people have a little bit more awareness there. Sometimes, right, developing that, it's like people need a little bit of help. Some of us have a little stronger mind body coordination,
Mm-hmm.
mind body connection, but some of us, and that's what I've noticed as I'm kind of growing as an instructor, where sometimes people need a little bit more help. And especially as we're trying to bring more people in, I think sort of giving people some of those little tidbits or resources will kind of help them better create the dots as far as what Pilates is and what it kind of
and
means
what its
for them
yeah,
from,
and what its
yeah,
potential is for their body
yeah.
too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost like a baseline too to say, okay, this is where I'm starting, and these are the indicators that you're getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find too sometimes people like if they didn't have an athletic background, if they weren't like they didn't play sports when they were a kid, and now they're 56 years old. Sometimes they don't have those cues to push themselves. They
Right.
don't know when they have permission to challenge themselves because they don't know what uncomfortable really feels like.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. All of that. And then, because sometimes it's like where there have been times where it's like I'm in a private or something with somebody and I'm asking them things and it's like it's over their head. Like it's
Yeah.
beyond. And that ends up kind of there's that little point of like contention where you see them getting frustrated with the process. And it's
Yes.
sort of like, okay, wait, like how can I kind of go back to my drawing board and figure out, okay, if I'm somebody, like how can I help them understand, like, okay, here's your balance, here's your coordination. I'm thinking some of these things, like these are things that people relate to, you know what I mean? And I also feel
Yes.
like people relate to them, they draw connections to those words outside of other things, so they connect them to like quality of life aspects. And I
Yes.
would hope that kind of bridging those words into their movement practice would help them sort of make some connections, maybe in other parts of their life where maybe they need maybe a little bit more balance, maybe they need a little bit more coordinated of effort, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Absolutely. So what like who's your primary like population you have coming into your studio? Do you have a studio or you work out of places or
right now I'm building out my online studio, so
okay.
working on that and getting all of that situated by the end of this month, so October. Right now, I'm at Club Pilates, and I work
Mhm.
at a couple of other, like a couple of studios within the franchise that we're at. But mostly, so I have kind of a mix. I've got some athletes. I've got retired. So I've got a pretty good mix, and that's keeping me busy, and I'm
Yeah.
learning so much, and it's really exciting. So I've got a good mix between young athletes and also retired, and it's a good scope because I'm seeing. Um, Things from different, even things that could benefit people in different age groups, where it's like, even though you may be retired and even though you may be an athlete, you guys may have more from a Pilates methodology, you have a little bit more in common than you may think.
Well said.
And so,
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's funny, because I stayed out when I was young. I used to train a lot of like squash players, and they'd be like mid 20s, and they move like they're 85 because their bodies are so jacked up, right? Like, so you're taking them through the same movement patterns, the same
hmm
things, that it doesn't matter what you like. Movement's movement,
yeah.
So
And sometimes, depending on the size of the ego, you have to push them. You have to say, hey, look, I have retired people doing this. Like, you can do this too. You
yes,
can.
yes,
But it's definitely it's really rewarding. But I really like to try to be able. So my background before I fell in love with Pilates back in 2020, my background is actually HR, and so in really kind of into the development, and that's kind of always been my passion is development in others. And
mm,
realize kind of now my HR skill set is it's like, okay, this is a skill set where now I can use it rather than outsource it. I can use it now to build something for myself. But I see where
yes,
my skill set also there's a value in it coming into this Pilates space
yes.
because of the relationship building and the psychological aspects of because we bring our whole selves into anything that we do, whether we're aware of it or not.
Yep. I love that, and that's exactly it. I mean, we talk about that here so many times, and then people have like an advertising background or like whatever, an engineering background. Like it informs your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my desire to like to develop people, my passion is really to empower people and to help people see a different perspective. Some of the things that I've learned, I've lost 60 pounds over the
Oh
last couple of years doing
wow,
Pilates. I've been keeping it off long term. So
good stuff.
realizing that perception is is it shapes reality. And
Sure.
so wanting to really empower people to and challenge them, as far as sometimes their perspective, because that's where we can really flourish and grow and we can do the transformative things that a lot of us want to do. It's a lot of times
Yes.
we don't realize how much our perspective is kind of impeding, like it literally impedes us. So
Yes. Absolutely. So, Avi, I have a question for you then.
mhm.
So you mentioned the 60 pounds loss, and congratulations
Thank you.
for that journey. I know it's a challenge and it's a mental ascent to do a lot of that stuff. How do you feel about that process and that journey of weight loss? And what do you see in the media based on your own experience and the messaging and stuff like that? Like, from your perspective, it's different for me coming from the place of just preaching it, but when someone has lived it, like, what's your commentary on social media and what we put out there when people look at, fat shaming, body shaming? There's so many different angles that attack it that I just go hands off with it.
I feel
So
you. I mean, I get overwhelmed too with it. And I'm, so from my own perspective, I think that, we have to, beyond all the noise that's out there, my desire to change was very personal.
okay.
And it was rooted in, I've got family history. I have, obesity runs in my family, diabetes runs in my family. Um, and all of those are lifestyle. As I studied in school, I was always kind of more interested in biology. And so I was starting to make some connections. It's like, okay, the lifestyle factor diseases and, how what I could do. And so, because I didn't want to, it was like some of my first memories, I would see my grandma like, giving herself insulin in the stomach, and
Yes.
so I remember that as a kid. And it's like, as a kid, you just have that reaction like, oh, that looks like I don't want to ever do that.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that was kind of how, like
Yeah.
my
If it's
reaction. And so,
preventable. Yeah.
Right. And so as you go through high school and you learn different things, and I'm like, okay, I have these sort of, we really like food in my family. We're really good cooks. My mom's a great cook, and we use whole foods and we enjoy food. But you start to realize it's like with my perspective, I'm like, I don't want to necessarily live this life. And I was overweight and I would kind of yo-yo and couldn't quite figure it out. And after so many different years of yo-yoing, I was always active though. So even though I would yo-yo with my weight, I was always pretty active. I've always loved moving my body.
Hmm.
My weight I got up to like over 200 pounds, and I had blown my knee out. I tried jujitsu like at 27, blew my knee out. Yeah. So after that ACL, after blowing my knee out, I put on quite a bit of weight because I was still eating like I was, as
Like
active
you're
as I used
moving.
to be.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I really need to like get myself together because I would get sluggish. Like I had sluggishness. I didn't feel great. And as far as, when I looked at myself, I felt like I didn't, what I would see, there would be times where like I would pass the mirror and not even look in the mirror because I did, you know what I mean? And so it's like, that's not a good thing, and I know deep
Yes.
down inside, like that's like my relationship with myself, because
Okay. That's yes.
relationships are fundamental. Relationships are
Yes.
fundamental. And
Right.
so for my thing, it's like, if we have the awareness, if we have a point to where we're not relating with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to look at you. I don't want to sit with you, as in, I don't, we can't just go out and sit together and just have time together.
Yes.
It's like I've got to fill that time with either maybe eating or drinking or what, you know what I mean? What have you? I
Yes.
feel like those are some indications around, okay, maybe I need to change something
Reassess my
because,
relationship.
right, yeah, because I should have a positive relationship with myself. It's like, if we expect to have positive relationships with other people and we want attention and we want time from other people, it's sort of like, how can we genuinely show up? And this is something that for my journey, it was like, how am I genuinely showing up for others if I'm never even, if I don't even want to acknowledge myself
Mm.
in certain ways? And so, but it's like, the thing is, that sort of neglect, it comes along with certain impulses, whether it be,
Okay.
I'm so super tired, I'm worn, like there's a whole, without trying to get too, you know what I mean, for this conversation, without trying, because
Sure.
I'm really
You're
big
not trying to
into,
overcomplicate it.
right, but it's
Yes.
sort
Just
of
keep
like,
it. Yeah.
maybe we can figure out a way to change. I started with podcasts. That's what helped
Mm-hmm.
me, when I got to a point where my weight got to a, like, I was really overwhelmed. I was like really overwhelmed. I was heavier than I had ever been, and with different, my body, I could feel the weight on my body.
Yes.
And I met with one of my doctors. She recommended a podcast, and the podcast was like, make small changes. And she's on Instagram, Corinne Crabtree. I
Okay.
think it's I think it's losing 100 pounds, but she really gets into the psychological, like the self-talk narrative, and it's
Yes.
really all about what the relationship is, like what relationship we have with ourselves.
Yes.
And it's like, but for example, at the end of the week, if we did 5 things great and we did 1 thing bad, are we celebrating those 5 things, or are we
Or
sitting
highlighting the
there,
one.
the one thing? Because it's like, if that's what we're doing, then we're self-sabotage. Like that's where self-sabotage starts. It's
Yes.
when we would just want to fixate on the one negative thing, because it's like, well, why are we going to go back to that if we got to
Yes.
start focusing on, what, I kicked ass here, 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 and here, these 5 areas, and I'm going to
Yes.
do that even better next week, because
Right.
that's
Yeah.
that's kind of how we are. It's like, if we
Right.
know we did something really good and we focus on that, like, okay, yeah, I'm going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, if I had
Well said.
focused on how challenging roll up was for me, I wouldn't have never have continued I would never have continued Pilates
Yeah.
if I had
Exactly.
focused on, but it's like, I can do some lunges.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
can do
hear you on
100.
that. Yeah. We spend so much time focusing on what we can't do, we forget what we can, right? And
Right.
and I love what you're saying about that relationship, because I've talked about that relationship with food, but you're broadening that conversation to say your overall relationship with yourself,
Right.
you
Hmm.
know, and I'm sure there's so many people out there that have this kind of body shaming perspective where like, no, like you should just love yourself in spite of. It's not a question of loving yourself more when you get to
Yeah,
this
because
checkpoint.
the place that sparked my change was a place of love. That was because I was able to
Good.
write. I'm like, I have to have a better relationship with myself.
Yes.
And another thing, that journey, I made a commitment. I wasn't going to starve myself, and I wasn't going to do unhealthy things. I was
Yes.
determined to make the real like the lifestyle changes, the real relational changes to be. You know what I mean? It
Yes.
was like
Yep.
to just be.
To just
Because
be.
I don't have
Love it.
to um I started, like, I would say something that I recommend to clients a lot, something that empowered me through the listening to podcasts was starting a journal and not counting my
Yes.
calories.
Mm-hmm.
But I did take note of what I ate, the time
Okay.
that I ate, and how I felt afterwards. How I
Okay.
felt afterwards was a really big, that really empowered me to start connecting how food made me feel, how it made my body feel, and that sort of, and I started eliminating, like, and I had this journal of data where
Yes.
it was like, oh, well, this week, like, hey, you know what, like last month I was like really like I was kind of consistently losing like 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week. Like, what was I eating then? And then
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, like, you know what, this week, like, I just don't feel that great. Like, what am I eating? And now, like, I've learned, like, there are certain foods that my body just, it
Yes.
doesn't quite work with, and I just avoid
Yes.
those. And it's not because like I'm like, oh, I'm depriving myself. It's because I've empowered. Like, I don't need those because they don't make me feel great. And
Yes.
maybe they make somebody else feel good, but they don't make me feel good. So I don't need to have them in my diet. And there are other things that I know I feel really great whenever I eat those things. And maybe if, hey, maybe I indulged and I, gained a couple of pounds. I know, like, okay, well, if I go to these sort of sets of food, I can find that balance. And I'm also
Yes.
like, I really, I'm really into kind of like acupuncture and the Chinese medicine. So like the flow of energy in the body, I
Yes.
believe in that. And I think that,
That's great.
as we continue to learn more as humans and be here, we'll learn how to care for ourselves more holistically, and be more
Absolutely.
aware, have more awareness of ourselves holistically as well. Because that's one of our challenges, I think, and you're aware of that. And as a professional in this realm, is the lack of awareness just that we have in our own selves, like the holistic,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So the two kind of major talking points we've touched on is relationship with yourself and empowerment. And moving from that place of empowerment as opposed to a place of guilt or a place of whatever, right? Like, I mean, that's a totally different conversation. Like, yo, I'm choosing to not eat this. I'm choosing to eat this as opposed to I shouldn't eat this or I was told. You know what I mean? Like, there's a great conversation around empowerment in that. I love that.
Yeah, and the empowerment and the confidence too. Like, people, I want,
Yes.
to like have the confidence to sit down at the table and not be flooded with all kind of emotions or impulses.
Yes.
So
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. Oh wait, hi Courtney. Sorry, and who's that dot you mentioned? Crabtree?
Corinne Crabtree.
Corinne. Okay, cool. I will look her up, chase her down, and get her on here for a conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, because this ties into what Sugar Mode Off was saying, what Sean was saying earlier this week, right? I'm like sugar just controlling it, and
Yeah.
the one thing we've been highlighting all week is that she wasn't talking about addiction; she was talking about awareness,
Hmm.
right? I mean, like when we
Yeah,
look at it from the perspective of awareness, then it's like, okay, well, now that we're aware, we can go where we need to go. We can assess our relationship with sugar. We can assess our relationship with ourselves and all these different things once we're aware, right? So yeah, it's great.
absolutely.
Good stuff.
Thanks so
Thanks
much
for
for having me.
thanks for jumping on. I appreciate that. Dragging you out of bed to talk about all the things you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I look forward, hopefully, maybe you'll join in on a couple of session or two as we do our end of year
Hmm.
challenge, focusing on quality of life, balance, endurance, and coordination. So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
and I'd
send me the
love to
link
join.
for.
I'd love to hop back on again in the
Can
future.
we?
And
Yes, let's do like a full conversation because I mean I love
yeah,
hearing like we talked about origin stories of our cities
yeah,
and stuff like that, but I want to hear your origin story, right? Like in terms of all these things. So it's
I love
good
it.
stuff. All right.
Absolutely. Happy Friday. Enjoy
Thank
that. It
you.
looks beautiful. What's the
It
temperature?
it is. It's probably what would it be in your? It's probably about 15. It's pretty cool. The sun's hot, but
So what is that, like 70 or so, or
yeah, probably about 70.
60s, 60s? Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
nice. We actually have nice weather this week here in Houston. So
it's
we're
17
high
degrees right now.
60s in the morning,
Okay.
70s,
Yeah.
80s during the day. So it's a good time of year.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely. All
Let's make it
right,
a
my
great
friend.
weekend.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks. Ciao.
Scoop, Pilates and PT, and to everyone else who just joined us, what's going on? I am outside. Look at this loveliness. We're at Celebration Square, which is Square One or downtown Mississauga, if you want to call that city center. Green space, well, fake green space, and City Hall. Bam, right there. So just doing my thing. I'm gonna jump off, but I wanted to just come here and just share some of my Martin time before I jump back into campaign work this afternoon. Hope everyone's having a great day, fantastic weekend, and next week I am only going to be doing one core conversation. We're dialing up this campaign. We're getting closer to E-Day, Election Day. So I have a guest on Wednesday. Mr. Lynn is going to be joining me for the Wednesday, and that'll be it next week. We're just going to do that because we have advanced polls on the Friday. So I'm going to focus on the one thing, eye on the prize. So please cheer for me, pray for me, all of that stuff. I'll still be in social media, but I'm not going to lock in the 10 o'clock hour anymore, as we need to just continue to grow and focus so that I can get a seat at the table right in here. All right, party people, I am going to sign off. Enjoy your weekend. We're back at it next week, like I said, but you'll see the post and the talk around the fact that we're going to scale back core conversations to what? Thank you so much. Yes, and also thank you, Adrienne. So everyone in Hurricane Ian's path, stay safe. Lots thinking about that. My stepson is in Florida right now, right in the path of that. My stepdaughter was in Halifax last week, in the middle of it too. So all this craziness happening in the world. Once again, wearing the orange shirt for truth and reconciliation, but also more importantly, wearing orange in our hearts for our First Nations. I know it's really funny. But recognition of Indigenous holidays is one of the calls, resolutions that we made. Mhm. Yes. Hi, Carrie. What's going on? Cool. All right, Avi, I'll message you after. I would love to have you on as a guest. And everyone else, have a fantastic weekend. And yes, we got this. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend.